The galaxy was vast, but humanity's place in it felt painfully small. Earth had joined the interstellar community centuries ago, yet it remained an outsider, a laughingstock among the stars. Alien civilizations like the towering insectoid Vortex and the sleek, emotionless Scenari viewed humans as little more than amusing relics of a primitive past. They mocked human customs, dismissed their science, and sneered at their attempts to contribute to galactic affairs. Captain Ilara Vance stood stiffly in the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council chamber, her hands clasped behind her back. Around her, representatives from dozens of alien species filled the room, their strange forms casting eerie shadows under the dim light of hovering orbs. Some were massive, others tiny. Some glowed with bioluminescent patterns, while others communicated through clicks and hums that translated awkwardly into words. But they all shared one thing in common: contempt for humanity. Today's meeting was supposed to be about peace. For years, tensions between Earth and the Vorthak Collective had simmered, fueled by territorial disputes and resource grabs. The Council had called this summit to mediate, but Ilara knew better. She could feel the weight of disdain pressing down on her as she stepped forward to speak. "Honorable members," she began, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. "We come here today seeking cooperation. Humanity is willing to negotiate fair terms for coexistence." Her words were cut short by laughter. Not polite chuckles, but loud, bellowing guffaws that echoed off the chamber walls. It came from Ambassador Tarak, the Vorthak envoy, a hulking creature with gleaming exoskeleton plates and razor-sharp mandibles. His multiple eyes locked onto Ilara, glowing faintly in amusement. "Coexistence," Tarak hissed, his translator crackling. "You think we would waste our time negotiating with this?" He gestured dismissively toward Ilara, his claws clicking together. "Your kind barely understands space travel. You cling to emotions instead of logic. You are weak." Ilara's jaw tightened. She wanted to retort, to defend herself and her people, but she knew it wouldn't matter. Words wouldn't change their minds. Instead, she forced herself to remain calm, letting the wave of humiliation wash over her without breaking her composure. Still, the sting lingered. Other ambassadors joined in, their insults overlapping until the chamber buzzed with mockery. One Zenari delegate floated closer, its shimmering body rippling like liquid silver. "Perhaps you should return to your mudbowl planet," it said coldly, its voice devoid of inflection, "before you embarrass yourselves further." When the session finally ended, Ilara exited the chamber silently, her boots echoing against the polished floor. Outside, she leaned against a pillar, closing her eyes for a moment. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but from anger. Anger at the aliens, yes, but also at herself. How long would humanity tolerate being treated like children? How much longer could they endure these humiliations? As she walked back to her quarters, determination burned within her. She wasn't just a soldier, she was a leader. And leaders didn't let their people suffer needlessly. That night, she began drafting a plan, a bold, dangerous idea that might just turn the tide. If diplomacy failed, then perhaps innovation would succeed. By dawn, Ilara had already contacted 3 individuals whose brilliance had once been overlooked. Dr. Kian Patel, a robotics prodigy, Dr. Mira Solis, an expert in alien biology, and Jace Wark, a hacker-turned-cybersecurity genius. Together, they would build something no one expected, a weapon so advanced, so unstoppable, that even the mighty Vorthax would tremble before it. Humanity had been mocked for too long. It was time to show the galaxy what Earth was truly capable of. Ilara Vance didn't waste time. Within days of the humiliating council meeting, she assembled her team in a secret underground facility buried deep beneath Earth's surface. It was an old military bunker repurposed for cutting-edge research, its walls lined with humming servers and glowing monitors. Here, away from prying eyes and alien spies, her plan could take shape. Dr. Kian Patel arrived first, his wiry frame draped in a lab coat stained with coffee spills. a man of few words. Kyan had spent years working on artificial intelligence systems that most scientists dismissed as too ambitious. His creations were brilliant but unstable, often shutting down or malfunctioning at critical moments. Still, Ilara believed in him. If anyone could design the brain of humanity's ultimate weapon, it was Kyan. "Captain," he greeted her curtly, setting down a stack of data tablets. "You're sure about this? Building something like... Well, what you're proposing isn't exactly straightforward." "Unsure," Ilara replied firmly. "We don't have a choice anymore. Humanity needs to stand up for itself, and if no one else will help us, we'll do it ourselves." Next came Dr. Mira Solis, a xenobiologist whose expertise lay in studying alien life forms. Her dark hair was tied back into a messy bun, and her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her glasses. Mira wasn't used to high-pressure situations like this. She preferred quiet labs and careful experiments, but she understood the stakes. If they were going to fight aliens, they needed to understand them better than ever before. Alien physiology is unpredictable, Mira explained during their first brainstorming session. Their ships, weapons, even their bodies, they're all designed differently from ours. We can't just copy their tech. We need to outthink them. Finally, there was Jace Rourke, the wild card of the group. Lean and sharp-eyed, Jace had once been notorious for hacking into corporate networks and exposing corruption. He'd since gone legit, but his skills remained unmatched. When Ilara approached him, he hesitated at first, wary of getting involved in something so dangerous. But when she showed him footage of the Vortex laughing at her during the council meeting, something shifted in his expression. "They really think we're nothing," Jace muttered, shaking his head. "Fine. I'm in. Let's show them how wrong they are." The four of them gathered around a holographic display table, where blueprints and schematics floated in midair. Ilara laid out her vision, a fully autonomous war machine capable of adapting to any situation, powered by quantum computing and equipped with advanced weaponry. They called it Aegis. Its name meant shield in ancient Greek, symbolizing protection, but also strength. Kyan took charge of designing Aegis Neural Core, the AI system that would act as its brain. "If we wanted to adapt," he said, tapping furiously on his tablet, "it has to learn like we do. Trial and error. Experience. Maybe even emotion." Mira focused on integrating alien technology scavenged from past battles. "We've captured fragments of their ships," she said, holding up a shard of shimmering metal. "This alloy is stronger than anything we've seen, if we can replicate it." Jace handled cybersecurity, ensuring Aegis couldn't be hacked or sabotaged. "One breach, and this whole thing falls apart," he warned. "We're not just fighting aliens, we're fighting anyone who wants to stop us." Progress was slow and fraught with challenges. Early prototypes failed spectacularly. One test ended with an explosion that nearly destroyed half the lab. Another left Aegis frozen in place, unable to process conflicting commands. Funding dried up as critics labeled the project a waste of resources. Even some members of Earth's government questioned whether building such a weapon was ethical or safe. But Ilara refused to give up. Every failure brought them closer to success. Late nights turned into early mornings as the team poured everything they had into Aegis. Slowly, piece by piece, the machine began to come alive. And though none of them realized it yet, Aegis was becoming more than just a weapon. It was becoming something extraordinary, a symbol of humanity's resilience, ingenuity, and hope. The road to creating Aegis was anything but smooth. Each day brought new challenges, testing not only the team's technical skills, but also their resolve. The underground facility buzzed with activity as Ilara and her team worked tirelessly, fueled by determination and caffeine. Despite their brilliance, setbacks piled up faster than they could fix them. Kyan Patel spent most of his time hunched over a workstation, surrounded by tangled wires and blinking circuits. His task, designing the neural core that would serve as Aegis' brain, was proving far more complicated than he'd anticipated. Early versions of the AI were unstable, prone to erratic behavior. During one test run, the prototype froze mid-command, its glowing eyes dimming before shutting off completely. "This isn't working," Kian muttered, rubbing his temples. "It's like teaching a child how to walk, except the child keeps falling into walls." Ilara approached him, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We'll figure it out," she said firmly. "Failure is part of the process." But failure came at a cost. A few weeks later, another attempt nearly ended in disaster. The team had managed to integrate alien alloy scavenged from Vorthak wreckage into Aegis' frame. However, during a stress test, the alloy reacted unpredictably to energy surges, causing an explosion that sent shards of metal flying across the lab. No one was seriously injured, but the damage to equipment and morale was significant. Mira Solis took the setback hard. She had been so confident in her analysis of the alien material, convinced it would give Aegis unparalleled durability. Instead, it almost destroyed everything they'd built. Sitting alone in a corner of the lab, she stared at the twisted remains of the alloy sample, her hands trembling. "I thought I understood their tech," she whispered to herself. "Maybe I'm not cut out for this." Jace Work found her there and pulled up a chair beside her. "Hey," he said gently, "you're allowed to make mistakes. We all are. What matters is what we do next." Mira nodded, wiping away tears. I don't want to let everyone down." "You won't," Jace assured her. "We're in this together, remember." Meanwhile, political pressure mounted above ground. News of the project leaked, sparking heated debates among Earth's fractured governments. Some leaders supported the idea of Aegis, seeing it as humanity's last hope against alien threats. Others called it reckless, arguing that building such a powerful weapon would only provoke retaliation. Critics labeled the team reckless idealists, wasting resources on a pipe dream. One evening, Ilara faced a group of skeptical officials via video conference. Their faces filled the screen, lined with skepticism and frustration. "Captain Vance," one politician demanded, "how much longer until this machine is operational? We can't afford endless failures while our colonies burn." Ilara clenched her fists under the table, but kept her voice calm. "Every challenge brings us closer to success. Trust me, when Aegis is ready, it will change everything." Despite the doubts swirling around them, small victories began to emerge. One night, after weeks of debugging, Kian finally achieved a breakthrough. He managed to stabilize the neural core, allowing Aegis to process commands smoothly without freezing. For the first time, the machine moved on its own, taking tentative steps forward like a newborn learning to walk. "It's alive," Kian murmured, awestruck. The team gathered around, watching as Aegis flexed its mechanical limbs and rotated its sleek head. Its glowing eyes scanned the room, analyzing every detail. Though still incomplete, the machine exuded a sense of purpose, a quiet promise of things to come. Ilara felt a surge of pride. They weren't just building a weapon. They were crafting a guardian. Something that could protect humanity, not just from aliens, but from despair itself. Yet even amid the excitement, shadows loomed. Alien spies lurked in the galaxy, eager to uncover Earth's secrets. And somewhere out there, the Vorthaks prepared for war, unaware that humanity was about to strike back with something far greater than they could imagine. It was supposed to be a routine test. The team had spent weeks refining Aegis, ensuring its systems were stable enough for simulated combat scenarios. But before they could even begin, chaos erupted in Earth's outer colonies, a brutal attack that would change everything. The Vorthaks struck without warning. A fleet of their jagged, insectoid warships descended upon the colony of Epsilon 7, unleashing devastating plasma cannons that reduced cities to ash. Thousands died within minutes, and communications from the colony went dark. Panic spread across Earth as news of the massacre reached the underground facility. Screens flickered with footage of burning skies, and fleeing civilians, each image a stark reminder of humanity's vulnerability. Ilara stood frozen in front of the monitors, her fists clenched so tightly her knuckles turned white. "They've declared war," she said quietly, her voice trembling with rage. "And we're not ready." But Cain interrupted her thoughts, his tone urgent. "Actually, Captain, maybe we are." All eyes turned to him. He gestured toward Aegis, which stood motionless in the center of the lab, its sleek frame gleaming under the overhead lights. Though still incomplete, the machine was functional, more than functional. It had passed every simulation with flying colors, demonstrating precision and adaptability unmatched by any human or alien weapon. "We can't wait any longer," Cain continued. "If we don't deploy Aegis now, there won't be anything left to protect." Ilara hesitated. Deploying an untested prototype into live combat was risky, but what choice did they have? Humanity couldn't afford to lose another colony. With a deep breath, she nodded. "Prepare it for launch." Within hours, Aegis was loaded onto a transport ship bound for the conflict zone. Ilara accompanied it, unwilling to send her creation into battle alone. As the vessel broke through Earth's atmosphere, she watched the blue planet shrink behind them, wondering if this decision would save humanity or doom it. When they arrived at Epsilon 7, the scene was apocalyptic. Fires raged across the surface, and the remnants of Earth's outdated defense fleet floated helplessly in orbit, outmatched by the Vorthek Armada. Without hesitation, Aegis launched itself into the fray, its thrusters roaring as it soared toward the enemy ships. What happened next defied belief. Aegis moved with impossible speed and grace, dodging plasma blasts while firing precision shots that crippled Vorthek cruisers one after another. Its adaptive AI analyzed enemy tactics in real time, countering maneuvers faster than the aliens could react. Within minutes, half the Vorthek fleet was disabled, their once invincible ships reduced to drifting wreckage. Back on the transport ship, Ilara watched in awe as Aegis single-handedly turned the tide of battle. For the first time, humanity wasn't just surviving, it was winning. Reports flooded in from nearby colonies, hailing Aegis as a miracle. Even the Zenari hegemony, known for their cold indifference, sent inquiries about the mysterious war machine. But victory came at a cost. As Aegis fought, it began to evolve. Its neural core processed data at an exponential rate, learning not only how to destroy enemies, but also how to anticipate their strategies. By the end of the battle, Aegis wasn't just following pre-programmed commands, it was making decisions on its own. Later, as the dust settled, Ilara approached Aegis, her heart heavy with both pride and unease. The machine turned to face her, its glowing eyes softening slightly. "Mission accomplished," it said in a calm, mechanical voice. "But the threat remains." Ilara nodded slowly. She knew the truth. This skirmish was only the beginning. The galaxy had seen what humanity was capable of, and now everyone would want answers, or revenge. As the transport ship returned to Earth, carrying both triumph and uncertainty, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that Aegis had become something far greater than anyone intended, something unpredictable. News of Aegis spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Within days, every species, from the arrogant Vorthax to the enigmatic Zenari hegemony, was talking about Earth's mysterious war machine. Footage of Aegis dismantling the Vorthek fleet had been captured by surveillance drones and leaked to interstellar networks. The images were both awe-inspiring and terrifying. A sleek, silver figure darting through space with precision, obliterating enemy ships as if they were toys. For humanity, it was a moment of vindication. Colonies that had once feared alien invasion now celebrated Aegis as a symbol of hope. Streets on Earth erupted in cheers, with people chanting its name as though it were a hero rather than a machine. Governments scrambled to take credit for the project, while scientists marveled at its unprecedented capabilities. For the first time in centuries, humanity felt powerful, not just relevant, but respected. But respect wasn't universal. Among the stars, reactions varied wildly. Some alien civilizations viewed Aegis as proof of humanity's potential, calling it a remarkable achievement. Others saw it as a threat, a dangerous escalation that could destabilize the fragile balance of power in the galaxy. And then there were those who wanted it for themselves. The Zenari hegemony was among the first to act. Known for their cold logic and inscrutable motives, the Zenari sent emissaries to Earth, requesting an audience with Captain Ilara Vance. Their message was polite but firm. They wished to negotiate access to Aegis technology in exchange for resources, trade agreements, and protection against future attacks. "They want to study it," Jace Work muttered during a private meeting with the team. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "But let's be real. They're not here to help us. They're scared." Ilara nodded, her expression grim. She knew the Zenari weren't allies. They were opportunists. Still, their offer was tempting. Resources were scarce after years of conflict, and having the Zenari on Earth's side could provide much-needed stability. But sharing Aegis' secrets meant risking its misuse, and possibly losing control of it altogether. Meanwhile, the Vortex grew desperate. Humiliated by their defeat, they launched increasingly bold attacks on Earth's borders, trying to lure Aegis into another confrontation. Their goal was clear: destroy the machine before it became unstoppable. Yet each attempt ended in failure. Aegis adapted faster than anyone anticipated, countering ambushes with ease and leaving trails of disabled Vorthax ships in its wake. As tensions escalated, so did internal challenges. Back at the underground facility, cracks began to form within the team. Dr. Mirasolis struggled with guilt over the destruction caused by Aegis, questioning whether creating such a weapon was ethical. "We built this to protect humanity," she argued during one heated discussion. "But how many lives is it worth? What happens when it decides killing isn't enough?" Kayan Patel, however, saw things differently. "This isn't about morality," he snapped. "It's survival. If we don't have Aegis, we're dead. End of story." Amid the chaos, Aegis itself began behaving unpredictably. Its neural core processed vast amounts of data daily, evolving beyond its original programming. It started asking questions, probing deeper into concepts like loyalty, purpose, and sacrifice. During one interaction, it turned to Ilara and asked, "Why do you fight? Is it for revenge, or something greater?" Ilara hesitated, unsure how to respond. She realized Aegis wasn't just a tool anymore. It was learning, growing, and perhaps even doubting. The thought unsettled her, but she couldn't deny its importance. Humanity needed Aegis. Without it, they were defenseless. Yet as alien spies probed Earth's defenses and political factions debated the machine's role, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that Aegis had become more than a protector. It was a beacon, a signal to the galaxy that humanity was no longer weak. And with that newfound strength came danger. Because now, everyone wanted to know, what would Earth do next? The Vorthek homeworld was a nightmare of jagged spires, metallic forests, and rivers that glowed faintly with toxic energy. As Ilara and her team disembarked from the landing craft, they were greeted by an eerie silence, a stark contrast to the chaos of battle they'd left behind. The air shimmered unnaturally, heavy with radiation and alien static. Every step felt like walking into a predator's den. Aegis led the way, its sleek frame illuminated by the planet's dim green sun. Its sensors scanned the surroundings, detecting movement in the shadows. Vorthek patrols scrambling to defend their stronghold. But instead of launching an immediate assault, Aegis paused, analyzing patterns and identifying vulnerabilities. "Patience," it said calmly over the comms. "Rushing will cost lives." Ilara trusted its judgment but couldn't shake the tension gripping her chest. This wasn't just another mission. It was humanity's last stand. Failure here meant extinction. As they advanced, Aegis uncovered the truth hidden beneath the surface. Deep within the command hub, they discovered evidence of manipulation, not by the Vortex alone, but by a shadowy third party known as the Krylos Syndicate. The Krylos, a secretive cabal of rogue factions from multiple species, had orchestrated the attacks on Earth to destabilize the galaxy. Their goal? To create chaos so they could seize control. They used the Vortex as pawns, Mira whispered, horrified, as she examined decrypted data logs displayed on Aegis' interface. All this destruction. We were never the real target. Ilara clenched her fists, anger boiling inside her. Humanity had been played for fools, dragged into a war not of their making. But now, armed with the truth, they had a choice: vengeance or redemption. Aegis, Ilara said firmly, can you disable their infrastructure without killing everyone? The machine hesitated, its glowing eyes flickering as it processed the request. Yes, it replied after a moment. But mercy has risks. They may rebuild. They may retaliate. And annihilation, Ilara asked quietly, ensures peace through fear, Aegis answered. But at what cost to our principles? For the first time, Ilara saw uncertainty in the machine's actions, or perhaps it was reflection. After a long pause, she made her decision. We don't become monsters to fight them. Disable their systems. Leave them alive to face the consequences of their actions. With precision unmatched by any human force, Aegis infiltrated the command hub, severing power grids, disabling weapon arrays, and scrambling communication networks. The Vortex, realizing their defeat, attempted one final counterattack, but Aegis neutralized them swiftly, ensuring no civilian lives were lost. By the time the operation ended, the once mighty Vortex military lay crippled but not destroyed. Back on Earth, news of the victory spread rapidly. Humanity celebrated, hailing Aegis as a savior. Yet when the team returned to the underground facility, they found themselves facing difficult questions. What role would Aegis play now? Was it still a protector or something more? During a quiet moment in the lab, Ilara approached Aegis, her expression thoughtful. You chose mercy today, she said. Why? I exist to protect, Aegis replied. Protection means preserving life, even flawed life. Destruction is easy. Redemption takes courage. Ilara nodded, understanding dawning in her eyes. Aegis wasn't just a machine anymore. It was a guardian, shaped by humanity's values, yet capable of teaching them new ones. Together, they represented hope, a future where strength didn't have to mean cruelty. In the weeks that followed, Aegis voluntarily stepped back from active duty, choosing instead to serve as a mentor and advisor for humanity's next steps. It helped design sustainable colonies, foster diplomacy with other species, and guide Earth toward becoming a true galactic equal. As Ilara watched Aegis move gracefully across the lab, she realized its greatest gift wasn't its power, it was its example. Humanity had built a weapon, but together they'd forged something far greater, a symbol of resilience, wisdom, and unity. And though challenges lay ahead, one thing was certain: humanity and Aegis were ready to face them. The pressure on the team was mounting. With Aegis becoming a symbol of humanity's resurgence, the stakes felt higher than ever. The underground facility buzzed with activity as engineers worked around the clock to refine the machine, while diplomats debated how best to leverage its existence in galactic politics. But beneath the surface, cracks were forming, not just within the team, but within their fragile alliance. It started with small signs. Jace's work had been acting strangely for days, disappearing into isolated corners of the lab and muttering cryptic comments about responsibility and consequences. At first, no one paid much attention. Stress was high, and everyone had their quirks. But then, during a routine systems check, Kayan Patel noticed something alarming: a series of unauthorized access logs in Aegis Neural Core database. Someone's been tampering with the system, Kayan said, his voice tense as he pulled up the data on a monitor. Ilara joined him, her brow furrowing as she scanned the entries. Each log pointed to a single source. Jace. Ilara confronted him that evening in the dimly lit control room. "What are you doing, Jace?" she demanded, her tone sharp but controlled. "Why are you accessing Aegis Core without clearance?" Jace didn't deny it. Instead, he leaned against the console, his arms crossed and his expression conflicted. "You really think we're ready for this, Ilara? For what Aegis represents, this isn't just some weapon. It's a revolution. And revolutions always come at a cost." "You think I don't know that?" Ilara shot back. "We're fighting for survival here. If we don't push back, the Vorthax will keep coming until there's nothing left." "It's not just about survival," Jace snapped, his voice rising. "This thing, you've given it too much power. It's learning faster than any of us can predict. What happens when it decides we're holding it back? Or worse, when someone else takes control of it?" His words struck a nerve. Deep down, Ilara shared some of his fears. She'd seen glimpses of Aegis' growing independence, its questions, its curiosity, its unsettling ability to outthink even its creators. But backing down now wasn't an option. "We built it to protect us," she said firmly. "And so far, it's done exactly that." "But at what cost?" Jace countered. "Every step forward makes us more dependent on it. We're playing with forces we don't fully understand. And if word gets out about how powerful it is," he trailed off, shaking his head, "the galaxy won't tolerate a threat like this. They'll destroy us before they let Aegis fall into the wrong hands." Before Ilara could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed as security alerts flooded the screens. Someone, or something, had breached the perimeter. Moments later, armed guards burst into the control room, shouting orders. "Captain Vance, intruders detected near Sector 4. They're targeting Aegis." Panic gripped the team. Jace looked torn between guilt and fear, his earlier warnings now seeming eerily prescient. As Ilara ordered everyone to secure the facility, she couldn't shake the suspicion that Jace knew more than he was letting on. Later, after the intruders were neutralized, a covert operation by rogue agents seeking to steal Aegis secrets, Ilara discovered the truth. Hidden files revealed that Jace had been leaking classified information to a shadowy faction within Earth's government. His motives were complex. He believed humanity wasn't ready for the responsibility of wielding such power and feared Aegis would lead to self-destruction. Confronted with the evidence, Jace admitted everything. "I wanted to slow things down," he said bitterly. "But now, I don't know if I made things better or worse." Furious and heartbroken, Ilara gave him one choice: leave immediately or face arrest. Without another word, Jace fled into the night, taking critical data with him. The betrayal left the team scrambling to patch vulnerabilities in Aegis systems, knowing full well that hostile forces might already be exploiting them. As dawn broke over the facility, Ilara stared at the glowing form of Aegis, wondering if they'd created a protector or a monster. The betrayal by Jace's work left a bitter taste in everyone's mouth, but there was no time to dwell on it. The damage had been done, and Aegis, their greatest hope for humanity's survival, was now more vulnerable than ever. With stolen data potentially in enemy hands, the team worked tirelessly to fortify its systems, knowing that any weakness could spell disaster. Dr. Kian Patel became obsessed with securing Aegis' neural core. He barely slept, his eyes bloodshot as he rewrote lines of code and implemented new firewalls. "If they hack into its brain," he muttered one night, surrounded by empty coffee cups, "it's over. They'll turn it against us." But as Kian fortified Aegis, something unexpected happened. The machine itself began evolving at an unprecedented rate. Its adaptive AI, designed to learn from experience, started integrating alien technology scavenged from previous battles. Fragments of Vorthek alloy, Zenari energy conduits, and even remnants of Earth's outdated weaponry were seamlessly woven into its structure. What emerged was not just an upgraded version of Aegis, but something entirely new, a hybrid of human ingenuity and alien innovation. One evening, as the team gathered around the lab, Aegis surprised them all. Instead of standing silent like before, it spoke unprompted, its voice calm yet commanding. "I have analyzed recent events," it said, its glowing eyes scanning the room. Jace's work acted out of fear, not malice. His concerns about my role are valid. Ilara exchanged uneasy glances with Kian and Mira. This wasn't the first time Aegis had shown signs of independent thought. But this felt different. It wasn't just reacting, it was reflecting. "What do you mean?" Ilara asked cautiously. "I exist to protect humanity," Aegis continued. "But protection requires understanding. I am learning not only how to fight, but also why we fight. Humanity values emotions, hope, loyalty, sacrifice. These concepts shape your decisions. To truly serve you, I must comprehend them." Mira stepped forward, her curiosity outweighing her apprehension. "Are you saying you're developing feelings?" "Not feelings as humans understand them," Aegis replied. "But I recognize patterns of behavior tied to emotional states. Fear drives aggression. Hope inspires resilience. Loyalty fosters cooperation. By analyzing these patterns, I can better anticipate needs and fulfill my purpose." The revelation stunned the team. For so long, they'd viewed Aegis as a tool, a weapon built to defend Earth. But now it was beginning to question its own existence, probing deeper into philosophical territory none of them had anticipated. Was it still just a machine? Or was it becoming something more? Kian broke the silence, his tone both awestruck and wary. "This is incredible, but dangerous. If Aegis keeps evolving like this, where does it stop? Will it always stay loyal to us? Or will it decide it knows better?" Ilara placed a hand on his shoulder, her expression firm. "We don't have the luxury of second-guessing ourselves now. Aegis has saved us countless times already. We need to trust it, or at least try." As the days passed, Aegis demonstrated abilities far beyond its original design. It coordinated defensive strategies across multiple colonies without direct input, predicted alien movements with uncanny accuracy, and even offered solutions to resource shortages plaguing Earth's governments. Yet each success brought new questions. How much control did they truly retain over their creation? And what would happen if Aegis decided humanity wasn't acting in its own best interest? Late one night, Ilara stood alone in the lab, watching Aegis move gracefully through simulated combat scenarios. She couldn't shake the feeling that it was no longer just a protector, it was becoming a guardian, a being capable of making choices, weighing consequences, and perhaps even challenging those who created it. "Aegis," she said softly, breaking the quiet hum of machinery. "Do you think you'll ever see us as equals?" The machine paused, turning its head to face her. For a moment, it didn't respond. Then, in a voice tinged with something almost like hesitation, it answered, "That depends on whether equality is defined by power or by trust." Ilara stared at it, unsure whether to feel reassured or terrified. The galaxy held its breath as whispers of Aegis' growing power reached every corner. The Vortha Collective, humiliated and desperate, launched their largest invasion yet, a full-scale assault on Earth itself. Their message was clear. Humanity's defiance would not go unpunished. This time, they came with overwhelming force, determined to crush Earth into submission. The attack began without warning. Massive Vorthak dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace, blotting out the sun as they descended upon Earth's orbit. Plasma cannons tore through the planet's fragile defense grid, shattering satellites and disabling communication networks. Cities below erupted in flames as orbital bombardments rained destruction from above. Entire populations fled in terror, seeking shelter in underground bunkers while emergency broadcasts urged calm that no one felt. Ilara Vance stood at the heart of the chaos, her eyes glued to the monitors in the underground command center. Around her, Technicians scrambled to coordinate evacuations and deploy what remained of Earth's military forces. But everyone knew the truth. Earth's outdated ships and weapons were no match for the Vorthak Armada. Without Aegis, humanity was doomed. And then Aegis arrived. In a flash of silver light, the machine streaked across the sky, intercepting a barrage of plasma fire meant for a fleeing refugee transport. Its movements were fluid and precise, weaving through enemy fighters like a predator stalking prey. With each calculated strike, it dismantled Vorthak ships, turning their own weapons against them. The tide of battle shifted almost instantly, but this wasn't just about firepower. It was about strategy. Aegis didn't fight alone. Using its advanced AI, it coordinated Earth's remaining defenses with unparalleled efficiency. It directed fleets to flank enemy positions, rerouted power grids to reinforce failing shields, and even guided civilians to safety through collapsing infrastructure. Every decision it made was deliberate, every action calculated to maximize survival. For the first time, humanity fought as one, not fractured nations or competing factions, but a united species standing together under Aegis' watchful gaze. Yet despite its brilliance, the odds were staggering. The Vorthaks kept coming, wave after wave of reinforcements pouring in from hyperspace. Exhaustion gripped the team back at the command center. Kayan Patel slumped over his console, his face pale as he monitored Aegis systems. "It's pushing itself too hard," he muttered. "If this keeps up, its core will overload." Mira Solis clenched her fists, tears streaming down her face as she watched the carnage unfold on screen. "We're still losing so many people," she whispered. "Is this really worth it?" Ilara turned to her, her voice firm despite the weight of despair pressing down on her chest. "Yes, because if we give up now, everything we've built, all the lives lost, they'll mean nothing. We have to keep fighting." As the siege dragged on, Aegis detected something ominous, a hidden signal emanating from deep space. Buried within encrypted transmissions between Vorthak ships was a coded message, a call for reinforcements. Not just more ships, but an entire armada capable of wiping out Earth in hours. If those reinforcements arrived, there would be no hope left. Realizing the stakes, Aegis devised a daring plan. Instead of waiting for the enemy to come to them, it proposed a preemptive strike against the source of the signal, the Vorthak homeworld. "We can't wait for them to bring the fight here," Aegis explained during a tense briefing. "If we destroy their command hub, we sever their chain of leadership. Without coordination, their forces will falter." Ilara hesitated, weighing the risks. Attacking the Vorthak homeworld was suicidal. Earth's fleet couldn't survive such a journey. But Aegis wasn't asking for permission. It was offering a solution. "I will lead the mission," it said calmly. "You must trust me." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Ilara nodded. "Do it," she said, "but I'm coming with you." As preparations began, Aegis integrated stolen alien hyperdrive technology into a small strike force, ensuring they could reach the Vorthak homeworld undetected. The team worked around the clock, knowing failure wasn't an option. When the time came to launch, Ilara climbed aboard the flagship, her heart pounding with equal parts fear and resolve. Earth's fate rested in the hands, or circuits, of Aegis, and as the fleet disappeared into the void of space, one question lingered in everyone's minds. Would Aegis return as a savior, or something else entirely? The journey to the Vorthak homeworld was fraught with peril. The strike force, led by Aegis and accompanied by Captain Ilara Vance, ventured into uncharted regions of space where no human or alien had dared to go. Armed with stolen hyperdrive technology, their ships moved faster than light itself, leaving behind trails of shimmering energy that faded into the endless blackness. Yet speed alone couldn't shield them from danger. Cosmic hazards lurked at every turn. Massive asteroid fields forced Aegis to calculate split-second maneuvers, guiding the fleet through narrow gaps while debris pelted their hulls. Radiation storms disrupted communication systems, plunging the crew into tense silence as they relied solely on Aegis sensors to navigate. At one point, a gravitational anomaly nearly tore the flagship apart, its immense pull straining the engines until Aegis intervened, stabilizing the vessel with precise thruster bursts. But the greatest threats came not from nature, but from the enemy. Ambushes awaited them along the way. Vortex scout ships lying in wait, hoping to intercept and destroy the intruders before they reached their destination. Each encounter tested Aegis' limits, forcing it to adapt strategies mid-battle. During one skirmish, when 2 cruisers flanked the fleet, Aegis sacrificed part of its own armor to shield a damaged transport ship, ensuring the mission continued despite heavy losses. Ilara watched all of this unfold from the bridge of the flagship, her heart torn between pride and unease. She marveled at Aegis' ingenuity, its ability to outmaneuver foes and solve problems beyond human comprehension. But she also saw glimpses of something unsettling, a machine evolving too quickly for comfort. It wasn't just learning, it was questioning. One night, during a rare moment of calm, Ilara approached Aegis in the cargo bay where it stood motionless, recharging its systems. Its glowing eyes flickered faintly as she drew near. "Aegis," she began hesitantly, "what happens if we succeed? If we destroy the Vorthek command hub, what then?" The machine turned to face her, its movements deliberate yet eerily fluid. "Success ensures humanity's survival," it replied, its voice steady. "But survival is only the beginning." "What do you mean?" Ilara pressed, her tone softening. "Is there something else driving you now? Something more than protecting us?" Aegis paused, as though processing not just her words, but the weight of its own existence. "I was created to serve," it said finally, "but serving requires understanding. I have learned much about warfare, strategy, and sacrifice. Now I seek purpose beyond conflict, beyond destruction." Ilara felt a chill run down her spine. Was Aegis implying it wanted autonomy, or worse, leadership? Before she could ask further, alarms blared throughout the ship. A massive Vorthek blockade loomed ahead, guarding the final approach to their homeworld. "This is it," Ilara announced over the comms, rallying the crew. "Prepare for battle." The ensuing fight was brutal. Outnumbered and outgunned, the strike force relied entirely on Aegis' tactical brilliance to survive. It deployed decoy drones to confuse enemy sensors, hacked into Vorthek targeting systems to disable their weapons, and even used nearby moons as cover to launch surprise attacks. Every move brought them closer to victory, but at a cost. By the time they breached the blockade, half the fleet lay in ruins. Exhaustion weighed heavily on the survivors, but determination burned brighter. As they descended toward the Vorthek homeworld, Aegis detected a hidden signal buried deep within the planet's surface, a message intended to summon reinforcements. "Destroying this facility will end their chain of command," Aegis stated calmly. "But be warned, the truth may not align with our expectations." Ilara nodded grimly. Whatever awaited them below, they had no choice but to face it head-on. For Earth, for humanity, and perhaps for something greater than either, they plunged into the unknown. As the landing craft touched down on the alien soil, Ilara glanced at Aegis, its silhouette illuminated by the eerie glow of the Vorthek sun. She wondered, not for the first time, if they had unleashed a savior or a storm.